So, I went and saw Godzilla King of the Monsters yesterday. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I am a huge Godzilla fan. I've seen almost all the movies, I've played a lot of the games, I've loved Godzilla stuff ever since I was a little kid. So, with that in mind, you would think that King of the Monsters would get an easy recommendation from me, right? Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, you see, this movie did a lot of things right, but it also did some things very wrong. That said, I'm hoping that if I talk to you guys about my thoughts, it might help me come to some sort of a decision on this one. I mean, fair warning, there are some spoilers here, but you saw the title of this video, so you know that already. So if you don't want any spoilers, just hit the X and hit X out of this video now. So first, what it did get right. The monsters. The monsters in this movie are awesome. One of the big complaints about the earlier Godzilla movie from back in 2014 was that Godzilla and the Mutos didn't really get much time until the end of the movie. That's definitely not a problem here. The monsters are front and center in this one. This is their show. Ghidorah is the same fierce three-headed dragon he always was, but he's a lot more badass in this movie. For one thing that I like in this one is that his three heads each have their own personalities. Like there are a few points in the movie where like the right head is about to do something, and one of the other heads just like snaps at like, "Hey, knock it off." Also, dear God, this Ghidorah actually knows how to aim. I mean, if you've seen any of the old Godzilla films, you'll remember how Ghidorah would just kind of flail his three heads all over the place, blasting everything but not really hitting anything. Well, this time, he's sort of figured out that if all of his heads look at a target and fire at once, his blasts are actually a lot more effective. And I have been wanting to see this for so long in a movie. You have no idea. Now, Rodan, he's no slouch either. He's basically like this big, fiery, bulked up pteranodon, and he's actually pretty cool too. Like he kind of does this thing where he first shows up, where he's flying over a city, and just like the force of the wind of his flight knocks a ton of buildings over and basically just wrecks the whole city. And it's actually really cool to see. Now, Mothra, if you can call a big giant moth beautiful, then Mothra just looks gorgeous. I mean, like she shows up and she's all bright and glowing, and it's just wow. Plus, like one thing I like is a little bit of a spoiler here, but Mothra is actually the one who gets to take down Rodan. So this Mothra can definitely hold her own in a fight. Yes, you heard me right. Mothra actually wins a fight. So that's something that I really loved seeing. I mean, you can definitely tell that she's definitely here to help Godzilla. Now, speaking of Godzilla, he is just incredible in this movie. And granted, it's hard to really mess up Godzilla. I mean, the only one I could really think that seriously did it was the 1998 one from TriStar. But, I mean, that's been retconned to not be Godzilla, so whatever. Anyway, Godzilla he just looks amazing in this one. I'm really impressed by what they did with the monsters. So, next thing that I also really like is the music. The music in this movie is awesome. I mean, I know I keep saying awesome a lot, but there is a lot in this movie that is awesome. I could tell the people that did the music for this movie are huge Godzilla fans. Like, there are some beautiful renditions of Godzilla's and Mothra's themes. And one thing I really like is you actually get to hear the original Godzilla theme during the credits at the end. I mean, here, I'll tell you what. After you finish watching this video, go type King of the Monsters Mothra theme. It's just that amazing. Just go check it out. Now, unfortunately, with that, now it's time to talk about what this movie did wrong. The story. Okay, bear with me here. Okay. The plot's like this. There's this eco-terrorism organization that's basically trying to weaponize the Titans, because that's what they're calling the giant monsters in this movie, Titans. So they're basically trying to weaponize them and to basically cause human extinction and kind of reset the planet for Mother Nature to take over. Now, this is played as a bad thing, but to be honest, considering how my daily commute home is each day from work, I could probably somewhat get on board with this. I'm just saying. But anyway, so it's up to Monarch, the group of soldiers and scientists from the previous movies, Godzilla and Kong Skull Island, to stop them. Now, for a Godzilla movie, for the story, this should really be all you need. But no, I mean, you got bad guy humans, you got good guy humans, and you have the monsters. But for some reason, the writers figured they had to shoehorn the most annoying, most overused story trope of all time in this movie, the broken family. And this brings us to our main human characters, Mark, Emma, and Maddie. Now, as the movie starts, we see them in the rubble of San Francisco from the battle at the end of the last Godzilla movie, looking for their son Andrew, who apparently has died at some point in the attack. Now, Mark's whole thing in this movie is that he blames the Titans for Andrew's death, and Godzilla in particular. Now, we don't actually get to see what happened, so we don't know if it was Godzilla or the Mutos who did it, but, okay, whatever, we'll go with it. Anyway, he becomes a self-admitted drunkard and ends up splitting off from his wife and kid. Now, Emma, meanwhile, takes Maddie with her, and since they're members of Monarch, she's going around doing Monarch stuff, including building a device called the Orca that somehow, using some sort of bio-vibrational frequency thing, can actually communicate with the Titans. Now, granted, I'm not as up on cutting-edge technology as I probably should be, but I'm pretty sure we don't have anything near this level in our current world. Now, people have been saying the MonsterVerse is supposed to be more realistic, but this is about when we're just throwing that right out the window. So, anyway, the terrorists come in, and they kidnap Emma and Maddie and steal the Orca. Or so we think. Turns out that Emma is working with the terrorists the whole time to be able to wake up the Titans and sick them on humanity, and she's basically yanked her daughter along with her for the ride. I have to say it. I hate these characters. I mean, I don't hate Maddie, the daughter. She's the only one of the three that I can really tolerate, but the others just... The sad thing is, there are other human characters in this movie who I do like. Like, Dr. Serizawa from the last movie is back, and he is probably the best human character in the movie. Only, they end up killing him off. Spoilers, I know, but yeah. But actually, before I talk about this part, it is off topic, but this actually brings to mind to something that I actually did like in this movie. And that is that this movie has tons of references to previous films in the series. I mean, you can tell the people making this one really did their homework. Like, for one thing, Ghidorah is referred to as Monster Zero all throughout most of the movie, which, I think is a pretty cool touch if you've seen the early movies. Also, for those wondering if the twins are going to show up in this movie since we have Mothra, sort of. See, one of the crew members on the Argo, which is basically this ginormous airship that Monarch has that can carry a whole fleet of Ospreys. Anyway, one of the crew members is a Chinese scientist played by Ziyi Zhang, who... Anyway, she has a twin sister who's in charge of the area where Mothra's cocoon is. See, during the terrorist attack at the beginning, Mothra, who had just hatched, she ends up escaping and makes her way over to a waterfall and basically spins herself up a cocoon so she could come out in moth form later. Anyway, so we actually see pictures of the two scientists together on the island where Mothra was found in the original movies, which I do think that is a really nice touch that they put that in there. I mean, obviously you can't have like the little short girls, I guess, singing Mothra, yeah. So I mean, going this route is actually a decent little homage, I would say. But now, by the way, though, people saying that Ghidorah has to be from Earth in this one, and that they never introduced the alien element into this Godzilla series. Just, you know what? Suck it. Just suck it right now. See, toward the end of this movie, they actually do reveal that Ghidorah is, in fact, an alien dragon, as he should be. Apparently, sometime in the distant past, he had fallen to Earth from the stars, so Ghidorah can be, should be, and is an alien. And also, you know what? People who are saying that we can't have Mecha Godzilla in this series, I dare you to look at some of the tech in this film, just from the Orca device to the Argo to other stuff in the Monarch facilities that you see in the movie. I think we could make a Mecha Godzilla if we needed to, or even if we didn't, since we do have the alien factor now, thanks to Ghidorah showing up, we could have aliens come down with their own Mecha Godzilla. So we can have Mecha Godzilla. So screw you, realism. So, anyways, back to what I was talking about before. Okay, another reference coming up. At one point, we see Godzilla and Ghidorah having this huge fight in the ocean, and the military, because of course they have to butt in, send out a missile containing, guess what? The oxygen destroyer. Yes, we are going right back to the original Godzilla movie on this one. So somehow we've managed to invent the oxygen destroyer to try to kill Godzilla and Ghidorah. Turns out it does nothing to Ghidorah, though, which ends up leading to the revelation that he's an alien, but it does almost put Godzilla down for the count. And in order to save him, Serizawa needs to basically take a nuclear warhead down to Godzilla, who's recovering underwater, and detonate it because, Godzilla eats radiation. That's kind of his thing. Now, I kept hoping it would be Mark who would have done it, have some kind of maybe connection where he ends up forgiving Godzilla enough to the point where he brings him back to life, and maybe redeems himself for being such an asshole throughout the movie, pardon my French. But no, they choose to get rid of the best human character in this movie. So, anyways, the warhead goes off, and it ends up giving Godzilla a power boost, but it accidentally supercharges him too much, to the point where he's going to explode. Now, fans of the movies know what this means, and they know what I'm getting at here. At some point during the final fight with Ghidorah, he basically turns into Burning Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, and it is awesome. He's all glowing red. He's like firing waves of energy all around him, and it's just wow. Now, while this has been going on, Emma and Mark reunite to find Maddie, who, through a long series of events, ends up escaping from Emma and the terrorists, and who used Orca to try to distract Ghidorah. So, yeah, I mean, it's a long story there, but you'll see what's going on if you watch it. Anyway, at the end of the movie, Emma has to sacrifice herself to use Orca to keep Ghidorah away from Godzilla so he could recover and win. Now, it's played as some big, tragic redemption moment, but honestly, I could not be bothered to care. She was easily the worst character in the movie, even worse than Mark. So when everyone is screaming, "No, no!" I'm thinking, "Yes, yes!" I'm sorry. I said I don't like these characters. I don't. But anyway, the last scene in this movie though is just amazing though. Like Godzilla, he manages to kill Ghidorah, and he actually does this really cool thing where he bites off Ghidorah's last head and basically shoots his atomic breath out through Ghidorah's neck and out Ghidorah's mouth. It's like, yep, stick a fork in him. He's done. So, anyways, like he's standing on top of Ghidorah's body, and a lot of other Titans from all throughout the movie, all come up and end up bowing to him. And it shows that Godzilla truly is the king of the monsters. And it is an awesome scene, I will say that. Now, if you do go see this movie too, I will recommend sitting through the credits. There are some really cool bits, including a scene after the credits that actually it helps to build up for Godzilla versus Kong next year. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. So, going through all of this, would I recommend this movie? Overall, I might, but filmmakers, like any writers or directors watching this, listen to me, all right? If you guys want to yank me out of your story, if you want me to like lose interest and stop caring, then go ahead and throw in some family drama in there. For some reason, people seem to think that this makes for a better story, but it really doesn't. I mean, I know this movie does it. The Tom Cruise version of War of the Worlds did it with Tom's character trying to get his kids across country during the Martian invasion, regardless of the fact that none of these characters were in any previous adaptation or in the actual story at all. I mean, heck, the last Godzilla movie kind of somewhat did it with the Brody family. The connection, like the stuff between Ford and his dad, Ford being separated from his wife and kids and all that. Just, I mean, it's not really that entertaining or interesting to me to watch. And all too often, it tends to just strangle the plot that ends up getting shoehorned into. I mean, I get that writers are trying to insert a human interest, to use the phrase that I've read a lot about this movie, but honestly, this is the wrong interest. I mean, there's ways to make to flesh out humans where they are interesting in these movies. I mean, hell, there were quite a few characters, especially on Monarch's side, that easily could have been talked about and had their stories kind of fleshed out and helped us be able to connect more to them. I mean, you could have done that, and it would have made for a lot better human side of this story. But it's done, I guess, and over with. So anyway, I probably should wrap this up. So anyway, this is my review of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. I guess if you are a Godzilla fan and you love the monsters and monster action, then yes, this movie gets that right in spades. But if you're looking for interesting human characters, there are a lot better movies in the series. Like, just off the top of my head, like the original Godzilla movie, the characters there were a lot more interesting. And, like, some people might argue with me on this one, but I actually really liked the human characters from Shin Godzilla. They actually had some pretty cool, pretty interesting personalities. And I really liked watching them in that movie, so that's another example. But, I mean, in this movie, there are humans, but they're not that interesting. And the interesting ones don't last very long. But, I mean, overall, I will say, go ahead and check out this movie. Like I said, I mean, if you like the monsters, you're going to love this movie. Right? So, I'm going to wrap this one up. So, I'll see you guys later for the Mathiason project. This is Thor Mathiason, signing out.